First shown on ITV 16 years ago and now being rerun on Channel 4. It starred Patrick McGoohan, who directed 3 episodes himself. It's a story about a secret agent who is abducted and taken to a mysterious village where he becomes number 6 and is subjected to brainwashing. In last Monday's episode, number 6 stands for election as number 2 in the village hierarchy.
I am not a number. I am a person. He's seeing you.
Roger Goodman, you were a fervent admirer of The Prisoner when it first came out 16 years ago. Well, now, seeing it again all this time later, are you still as much of an admirer or less so?
Just as much an admirer, perhaps more so, although I must admit I'm very disappointed with the way Channel 4 are actually dealing with this presentation. I mean, short of showing an episode in reverse, there's not much more left that they can do wrong with it. Episodes are being shown out of order, chunks are being missed out of episodes, the photographs in the TV Times relate to any episode except the one that's being shown that night. I really wish it could have gone back on a major channel. But it is good to see it again. It is a classic TV series, the first classic TV series, perhaps the only classic TV series. That was a very good clip to show because an awful lot there was typical of the series, the setting in Portmeirion, the village atmosphere, this pseudo-holiday camp, almost, you know, mock Heidi-high atmosphere where everything appears to be pleasant and blissful, and underneath it all is the most menacing administration you could possibly think up.
Do you think that feeling really came over of it being as unpleasant as all that? One critic said of it, it was all style and no content. It was difficult to know what the content of it was.
Yes, I think the episodes themselves gradually build up to a much more menacing administration. To begin with, it might be a little more lightweight, but towards the end, where a lobotomy is performed on number 6 in about episode 13, although Lord knows which episode Channel 4 are going to show it as, then I think it does get more menacing. And in the final episode, without wishing to preclude the ending for those who haven't yet seen it, the prisoner is put on a mock trial, which is as Kafkaesque as anything Kafka or Orwell could dream up.
Julian, what did you think?
High camp, from beginning to end. But I'm very grateful to Mr. Goodman because he's explained what on earth was going on. My first reaction was surprise, my second was admiration, my third was irritation. I just could not understand what was going on. But now that you've explained that in fact this was number 6 and not number 1, and that one should in fact have started at the beginning and ended at the end, I feel that my sanity, which then was about to depart, I've in fact regained it.
Well, do you think, I mean, is that true? Do you think if it had been put in the right order that he would have immediately grasped what it was all about?
I think it would be easier. Certainly we've seen the 7th episode shown second, and the 7th one is where he makes some sort of escape from the village, and the tension of the previous 6, where he makes no escape at all, is built up into a great sense of enthusiasm for his possible release in the 7th episode. Showing it as second, no tension has been built up, and anyone who's perhaps heard a lot about The Prisoner but missed the first episode, coming to see episode 7 as episode 2 is going to be completely lost.
Chrissy, where were you in all this?
It's lovely, very refreshing to hear an MP actually say that he didn't understand something. I thought that was fabulous. But the Prisoner, with due respect to yourself, it always reminded me of an adult comic, and always of contemporary art. I always visualise it the same thing, that we were in a studio and that people looking at it upside down and sort of sideways and making an awful lot of sense out of it. Well, in fact, if they were terribly, terribly honest, they would say on the spot what they say outside, I didn't understand a word of that, did you? And I think an awful lot of people do say that, and whether you mix them up, whether it be 6, 2 or 1, it seems to me it's like, you can do that with comics. And really, if you're going to make any sense out of it at all, there isn't any sense to really be made out of The Prisoner at all.
How do you rate it as a vision of the future compared with, say, Old Men at the Zoo or 1984?
I think it's a vision of the past. We've seen it all before.
I think it's a vision of the present. I mean, it is almost legendary. It could be set as a Greek myth. It could be set sometime in the future. The images and the symbols, while some of them may be very 60s because of the time it was made, are almost timeless. And while it may be like a comic at first sight, one can see from the detail and care in some of the production and the writing that an awful lot of time and trouble has been taken by those behind it. And if the average viewer doesn't get it first time, well, perhaps that is what it's about, that we should be looking for more responsible television and programs which make us question what we're viewing, like The Prisoner,
So what you're saying is we should give the same amount of time and trouble to understanding it as the people gave to making it.
I would like to see that.
What about that, Julian? Do you agree?
Well, if Mr. Goodman will lead me by the hand, I'm willing to be educated. I have
And
an
me.
open mind. It was the first time I'd ever seen one of this famous series. I never saw it originally in the 1960s. But I would be less than honest if I could pretend here and now that I understood it as such. In fact, I was irritated by it. I thought it had a hollow centre. James Bond without the music.
There is indeed an education course in Canada, and some of the American campuses actually based on the series, a sort of sociological course.
Julian Critchley will be the first applicant to join. Thank you very much. Well, finally, Harty and Roger Goodman, thank you all very much.
Programmes on 4 are over for Sunday night, but tomorrow is a special day. The prisoner returns. Who... Sounds like a death knell. So, now then, he meets a few interesting characters throughout the series. In particular, number 2.
First episode of one of the 60s biggest and most baffling hit series. Take a look at this.
Roger Goodman was a schoolboy when he saw the first screening of The Prisoner back in 1967. He was hooked from episode 1 and became a devoted fan, even meeting his wife through the Appreciation Society they later helped found. He spends much of his spare time as coordinator of the 6 of 1 club. Named after characters on the fantasy island, it has 2,000 members who meet regularly to view tapes, swap souvenirs like these treasured scripts, and to analyse the show in minute academic detail. This month they published a special newsletter to celebrate what will be the programme's 4th screening. Only Robin Hood's had more, something the fans have been demanding. They say it's the best thing ever seen, a TV landmark, but even the most obsessive viewers still can't tell you just what The Prisoner's all about.
That is, I suppose, the fundamental question which we try to answer during the course of our magazines and conventions. I mean, what is it all about? There is no one answer. We have had a throughput of over 6,000 members. I should imagine you could possibly find over 6,000 answers to that question. We try and print and discuss as many of them as we possibly can.
Is that part of its attraction, that you can make of it what you want?
Yes, there is a very flexible element to it, which again I think increases its attraction. It could be set anywhere, any time, about any subject, and yet you know behind it all that the makers obviously had a very set purpose.
It's certainly developed an amazing, almost a cult following, hasn't it?
Yes, I like to think that we ourselves are not fanatical or obsessed with it. There are 1 or 2 people who like to dress up as Patrick McGowan and reenact the whole series in its original settings. Mr. McGowan himself is not very keen on this sort of prisoner imitation. We prefer a more responsible prisoner appreciation.
What sort of things do you do then locally when the clubs get together?
Watch videos of the series. The first 8 episodes are now out on commercial videos. Discuss them, and people have made friends through 6 of 1. That we have local group meetings in Birmingham, Wolverhampton, Stoke-on-Trent and the Midlands, and people have come together originally in isolation with their appreciation of the prisoner and found friends with whom they can do all sorts of things as well as just watch Goodman.
But Channel 4 ran the first of the 17-part series last week, and immediately the phones began to ring and ring. David Tamlin, for instance, couldn't bear to be robbed of a single moment of ritual.
Why was the program cut? What happened to the special piece of animation which used to appear before the commercial break?
Who cares, I hear you cry, but Mr. Tomlin and other McGowan maniacs were in fact right. Researchers skilled in techniques of sensory deprivation, they'd had to watch the program, finally got the distributors ITC to confess that some animation had indeed been omitted, more by accident than design, a bit like the series. But for prisoner perverts everywhere, take a deep breath and we'll show you what you missed. There, feeling better? But that wasn't the end of it. Mr. Trigg of Crayford.
I am an avid fan of The Prisoner and know all the episodes in the right order. I see you are going to show episode 7 next. Why can't you show them in the right order?
Well, I could give you a shrewd guess, Mr. Trigg, but instead we asked the chairman of the Prisoner fan club, Roger Goodman, if he knew what on earth was going on.
You are showing them in a peculiar order, in the order they happen to be finished in the editing room, not in the order in which they went out. It doesn't make sense, but it is an interesting order for prisoner buffs in a scholastic sense.
God bless your little pointed head, Roger. Some of your cabal must have infiltrated the upper echelons of Channel 4 because they're going to keep on screening the series in the jumbled order that you find scholastically novel. Well, anyone wishing to found a coven for common sense will get an address to write to at the end.
Over to you, Anne.
Thank you very much, Gavin. It's time once again to start the week with our guide to what's best on ITV. Jimmy Greaves, good morning.
Morning, Anne. How are you?
Very well.
Good, good. What were we talking about?
I usually ask my guests that.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
I think I'm all right.
Oh, good.
Good.
Right, well, let's start then. We're talking about The Prisoner, first of all.
Oh, yes.
Which is the return of the series which was made in the early, or middle 60s, actually, starring Patrick McGowan.
Isn't it black and white?
No, it's in colour.
Oh.
It's quite revolutionary, actually. It was filmed at Portmeirion in Cardigan Bay in Wales, which is it's really attractively designed set. And the plot's simple, really. McGowan, who is a Secret Service agent, who's not really got a name. In fact, he's got a number 6, and he's resigned his commission, and he's been put there, and he doesn't quite know why, and he spends all his time escaping. And no one can ever understand the plot, and
No.
we would have thought 15 years on from when it first appeared on television that we might have understood it, but we don't. And I think that's probably the appeal of it, really, that
Is this the one with the
nobody's
funny bubble?
Yeah, that's the one with the big white balloon that comes and gets hold of you
Never
every time
understood
you
it.
try to escape. It is actually, as I say, it doesn't become clear, but he's trying to escape at this particular time.
By Patrick McGowan in the series.
At the moment, they'll be running it till January, 17 episodes altogether, and most of it was filmed in Portmeirion.
On sale are information packs, fan club magazines, candles, village cloaks, and even the rover balloons which kept the prisoner in the village. At the drop of a balloon, he'll show visitors round the fading film locations.
Now, this building is the Green Dome. This was used as number 2's residence in The Prisoner, number 2 being, of course, the chairman and chief administrator of the village. Inside the Green Dome was